I had this idea to walk backwards every day for 40 days in a row here in July, August, and a little bit of September 2024. I used to walk backwards almost every single day since the pandemic for several years. And what's going to happen is every single day I'm going to record my thoughts and feelings that's going on for me in real time about the creative process or whatever else comes up for these 40 days. And you're going to hear, maybe 5 to 7 minutes per day of the best of recorded during that live walking backwards for about a quarter to a half of a mile per day. And it's in real time. So I'm really walking backwards as I'm talking with you outside. So enjoy the whole episode, and here we go. Good morning. Today is day 21. It's the 16th of August 2024, and today I felt myself anticipating the aroma of the eucalyptus tree. That was an interesting experience. Interesting to have that thought and then the accompanying feeling of to expecting it, anticipating, and I'm experiencing it right now, and how that yet again alters the experience. In the beginning of our time together, our 40 days, it was a delightful discovery. And that is there because of the pattern. I now have a pattern. Even though walking backwards is to break a pattern, right? We as human beings just love patterns. And then at the same time, I noticed this white van that pulls out of the driveway for this small hotel, and it turns left onto the street that I'm walking on, and then it turns left again to go down this small side street to wherever the next stop is. And I assume that it's some kind of delivery service of linens or something of that nature, because it's always around the beginning of my walk with you. And I just had another fun experience. So my backward walking experience, when I start, I always am aware of where there's cars. So as I could feel it coming up on me, I started to go wide to adjust. And just as I'm going wide to adjust for the car, a truck passes by. And all three of our energies are at the same longitude, latitude, time, and space. Just as I'm at the space of going wide to pass the car, the truck passes me, which is akin to yesterday. So this delivery van, pickup van, it's white, unmarked. It does its thing, and it leaves at a certain time. I'm there for it, for the experience most days. And it always turns down, or the driver always turns down, the first side street that it comes to. And where it goes would be down to the next main street, which you would have to turn left or right. And it wouldn't be, if the driver turns right onto the street, then it wouldn't make a difference which side street he originally turns on, the first one, the second one, the third one, because it's going to take you to the same street to turn right, and you're going in the same direction. If he turns left, then yes, he would be going out of his way by a block if he went to the second street, and so on. So I find it really interesting that we set patterns, and in those patterns are these repetitious moments, as opposed to breaking the pattern and going down the next street or the next street just to have a different experience, just to see what's there, just to break a pattern. But we as human beings tend not to. There is something to be said that the person that drives that van, he's doing it by rote. He's doing it by memory. He's doing it the way he was showed. He likes the pattern. He knows what he's doing in the pattern. It's efficient. And there's nothing inherently right about that or wrong about that. It is one way to go through life. And as creatives and artists and people exploring, it certainly isn't necessary that everybody approaches life in the same way. It's very important to be efficient. It's very important to have known commodities. It's very important for Amazon to deliver your package within the time frame that it said it would. And I would imagine efficiency experts are hard at work making that happen every day. And that would be an area of expertise that certain people in certain businesses love. So yeah, people who need to create patterns, to create efficiencies, and to do things in a timely way, as it has merit, and we all benefit from it in different ways. And then there are people who seek novelty, seek new experiences, seek freshness, and they have an important aspect to offer our culture and our society. And as we're talking about it, I'm seeing that everything's important. Everything has its own time and timing. In order to create a project like something as complex as a film, you need to have a lot of craftsmen, a lot of people who can do logistics, a lot of things where you have a primary organizational force behind you to make it happen. And by and large, that would be more things that happen behind the scenes. And then you need, in equal measure, the artist, creative, that's putting it all together in front of the camera, or with the script, or with the direction, bringing other aspects of freshness and aliveness and spontaneity, passion, chaos, unpredictabilityness. And you can't really cross over in the sense of you can't just exchange one for the other. You want people to be in their area of joy. There's a lot of people who get a lot of joy from being logistics people and getting something from point A to point B in the least expensive and the most timely manner, creating systems. And equally, there's a lot of people that really enjoy, walking backwards or breaking pattern, finding a new way to say something without saying it. I feel like our culture tends to, on a day-to-day level, support the logistical aspects, and our culture supports the non-linear, creative, artistic skills and merits in a very erratic way, and leaves sort of a stamp that this is only for special people. But from a cultural level, it's not supported. It's not that people sit around a dinner table and talking about their children and say, my son, the playwright, I got him into Yale so he could be the best playwright. There is the anomaly. David Mamet is a well-known playwright and screenplay writer. By and large, people who do systems analysis are looked to in our culture and have job opportunities that are waiting for them. But that's a different role, whether the culture supports it or not. It ultimately goes back to the sun and the moon. And the sun is strong and consistent and overt, always there, doing the photosynthesis thing, doing the chlorophyll thing. And then the moon is always there, but from our perception, it waxes and wanes, expands and contracts, has different phases, and is actually there for the plants to nurture them for their actual growth. Most plants do most of their growing at night, which is very much akin to the masculine and the feminine, which is very much connected to Jupiter and Saturn, expansion and contraction. And between the two of us, as we're chatting here, we are moving towards a world that is going to honor the feminine, the moon, more in the next 120 years. It's a slow shift, but a shift that is happening nonetheless. Thanks for joining me today. August 17th, 2024. That would be day 22. And it's a very overcast, gray, quiet, serene morning. There's this thing about repetition, and it is both your friend and your foe. It speaks to both Jupiter and Saturn, expansion and contraction. It speaks to your ability to show up in a relationship. It is everything that can be the downfall of a relationship. Repetition, consistency, conscientiousness, structure, daily practice, discipline. All of these things are both required to do something for the long term, and also its nemesis. There's that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. It can, and familiarity can also bring deep appreciation. So why are we talking about this? Because these are the things that will come up, guaranteed, whenever you're making a commitment towards long-term progress in whatever it is that you're working on. When do you change? When do you allow things to alter? When do you let things go? When do you double your commitment? When do you... all these questions that come up around moving forward in the healthiest way in relationship to your commitment. And the beautiful thing is that there there is no one answer. The beautiful thing is every time is solely unique based on so many things, a zillion and one things. This will come up when you're making choices about projects. This will come up when you're making choices about relationships. One of the alluring things about working 9 to 5, about working for somebody else, showing up every day and being told what to do, is that by and large, this will not come up or not come up as much because those kinds of choices are not required of you. Someone else is making those choices for you and you're just doing what is asked of you. When you take the helm of your own ship, when you start to live your life with soul commitment, then you get to put yourself in this position of making these choices. And that's exactly what an artist does. The conservative approach has more parameters, and those parameters, as the old saying goes, my crutches are my cripplers. So you have more parameters, you have more ways of staying on track because you've put the guardrails up. You don't go over a certain speed limit. You play by the rules, but the cost. And there's the other approach. The other approach is changeability, mutability, making it up as you go along, not having any rules, flying by the seat of your pants. That approach also has a cost. It has different values, and they both have their limitations. I think that's really important to see, that both have their limitations, just a different kind of limitation. And it's such a personal journey if you're going to be an authentic, soulful artist and really dropping out of this, which is very difficult, this culturally accepted what is success. What does that look like? What does that mean? And getting out of that good luck, bad luck concept. They're different experiences. I struggle with it. I just want you to know it's not like I turned a corner and I don't have that. Because it shows up for me, hopes and dreams, fears and secrets. It's all there because it's not my hope and dream. It's not my fear and secret. It's part of such a long lineage. It's unbelievable. You know, they call it ancestral. Your ancestral DNA. You're fulfilling the hopes and dreams of your relatives. You're either repeating or doing the opposite of your parents or some combination. But the actual fulfillment of you is something that only you can ascertain, only you can sort out. One of the tells is doing a lot of work on yourself through self-awareness practices and through different divination devices. And through all that work, seeing all the possibilities, the permutations, and then the irony is letting all of that go and being with what is. So I know today wasn't so much about storytelling, acting, writing, producing, directing, and it's something that every creative artist will work with in their life, and to give it width and depth so you don't feel as trodden down, as challenged, as trying to work something out here so alone, because it's definitely something everyone grapples with and works with, and there is no final answer. We're not on a game show where they go final answer and you go final answer. I just want you to know that I do my best to authentically show up for our conversations these beautiful mornings, and it is very different doing backward walking, by the way, in a gray covered low cloud environment. Very different. So interesting. I have this thing that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you, and since it hasn't come up when I'm, grounding myself in the moment, and I'm really looking forward to it. Closet. See you tomorrow. Today is August 18th, day 23. Gray day and less crows. That's interesting. I've seen it before. So when we see something, we tend to, or notice something, we tend to think about it, and if we think about it, we will talk about it. But if we don't see it, we tend not to talk about it. And if we're not talking about it, it's because we're not thinking about it. And one of the tells for people and also for character development, when I talk about these things, I hope everyone gleans that while I'm talking about humanity, I'm talking about people, I'm including character in that. That's what we're doing here. Stories, compelling art. So when I talk about these noticings, it's to help that process. And people are people, And characters are characters, and my hope is that everyone's characters become so full that they become people. And that's really how well-drawn characters and well-told stories land with their audience. I can think of a lot of examples like Mad Men, Draper, Walter White, Breaking Bad, Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise, The Bourne Supremacy, lead character, the James Bond character. And you'll notice that a lot of these that people fall in love with are serialized. Multiple episodes, because people want to spend time with people they like. And that's part of what happens. They like the person. Even if it's one of those characters that you love to hate, they love to hate that person. And they want that. They want to find out what happens next. And so when we see something, we tend to think about it. When we tend to think about things, we have thoughts and feelings. When we think about things in a repetitious way, in an unconscious way, we tend to think about things that bother us or concern us more than things that we are resolved with. If we're resolved with something, then we don't think about it. But it's something to be solved, then we think about it. Their predicament. How are they going to react? What's going on? How is he or she going to sort that out? So we're looking for situations that need to be solved or dissolved. And this has to do with character and character traits of people. And they become so focused on what they want. They become so focused on their intention that we get magnetized to it because they're thinking about what they want. This is really important. If you look at anyone in your life, when do you help them? When are you concerned for them? When do you emotionally care about something for them? And it will turn out to be something that they really want emotionally, not just an idea, not just something that they're interested in. I mean, sure, we go into cocktail conversation about, so, how's that novel, going? If someone says, I think I want to write a novel. Sure, we'll ask, but I'm talking about the thing that you ask about first. Hey, how's your mom doing? Is she doing better? Yeah? Because emotionally it's important to you, right? But we're going to help or be interested in or want to know about what other people are emotionally involved with, emotionally care about. Crow. So that's something that people can leave out of their characters, or you can leave that out for yourself as you share with people. And what makes for a happy, fulfilled, artistic, creative life is that when you have intention and you have your heart's desire and you work towards getting it, if that means creating it. My car takes up space in my life. I think about my car. The food that I have or don't have in my fridge takes up space in my life. The dollars in my bank account takes up some space in my life. That's what populates my life. Pictures in my place. So one of the exercises that you can work with is, what are some of the dominant things that populate either your life or your character's life, how they think and feel about them. And believe me, very few things are neutral. And in narrative work, nothing can be neutral. Everything has to have a negative or positive charge, a story, if you will, behind it. Go into someone's house and say, oh, what a beautiful, something they have out on display so they can see it, right? Most of the time there's going to be a story at the tip of the tongue. So thinking and feeling about, if you're working on a narrative, about the things that are of concern of your character and really going deep on it. And it's not an easy thing to do, because we tend to think about what we think about, and we tend to not think about what we don't think about. So as an exercise, sometimes I think about what I don't think about, just to expand my range. For no other reason. I want to expand my range of possibilities in relationship to your character. And you can also do it in relationship to expanding your range of possibility. Looking forward to tomorrow. So we're here under the full moon energy, and it's beautiful. My choice point of shifting from forward to backward walking. Every day when I do this, when you shift, you either turn around with your right or your left side first. If you want to try, you'll see what I mean. But you have to enter backward walking by turning to the left or turning to the right. And I do my best every day, switch it, and feel into which one I tend to favor. When I was walking here to the corner, I saw a person that was challenged by not having a permanent home at this moment, however you want to say that. And so he's traveling. He has in his possession all of his stuff. And because he has all of his belongings with him, he has to take his stuff, his history, wherever he goes in the physical form. We probably take it with us in other forms, right? So the history is there if you have eyes and ears to see it. So this is very overt. So what he was doing as I was walking past was he was doing sort of that train approach where you take a little cart filled with stuff and he goes like 50 feet and then he stops and then he goes back, and all the things he couldn't get into the cart and other items that he carries, he brings that 50 feet and he brings those things up to his cart, and then he does that out of that item just to go from one place to another place. So he's basically doing 2 or 3 trips for every 50 feet, which of course makes traveling a lot slower, even slower than walking backwards. He has all this stuff, spends all this time and energy navigating this stuff. But the problem is that it's his stuff and he identifies with it. He doesn't want to lose it. It's what he's connected to. Do you see where we're going here? It's really important on a lot of levels not to be attached to your stuff. And of course, we're talking about your stuff at all levels, because it's not the stuff, it's the attachment to the stuff that we're dealing with. So from a character, human being, story perspective, we want to look at what stuff are they attached to. And you can do it for yourself. What stuff am I attached to? What can't I let go of? What has no value in my life? What did have value but no longer has value, but I'm still holding on to it, taking up space and time and money. And more importantly than those 3 is potential future, because it becomes the limitation, because it does take up time, space, and money. What am I not seeing? Not see. What do I not see? The effort involved is quite stunning. Where is my character putting in effort? See, it doesn't make a difference if you're holding on to your Mercedes-Benz car or your designer jeans. It's the attachment to it. It's never the thing. Every person, place, and thing actually is neutral, and I give it a positive or negative charge. I give it meaning. Nothing has inherent meaning into itself. That's why it's so easy for us to look at someone who is carrying all their belongings on their back and in carts and shuttling it from one spot to another with such effort. And we can see it so clearly because we're not attached to any of those objects. You open the door to having more perception. You open the door to making significant life changes, because in order to have change and then sustain that change in a healthy way, it actually comes from a zillion and one micro adjustments, micro movements. It's not one thing. Sometimes one thing can lead you towards a path of making a bunch of micro adjustments. It can be an access point, which is what we're, as a culture, expect, like to see, addicted to. You know, like that's what the whole event is in a film. The event, the whole film leads up to the big fight for the championship or the big 10 tennis match or the big race. So there's all these, it happened again. What are you attached to? What are you holding on to that no longer serves you, that slows you down, that takes your time, energy, focus of attention, any resource. So when you're creating your narratives, all the things that the person experiences needs to be included, either overtly or covertly. Otherwise, why have it there? Passing the person who lives on the street as opposed to passing the iconic girl in the red dress, passing the guy who is driving a certain kind of car, or passing a lady who's in a soccer mom car, or getting a parking ticket before the lunch meeting an old friend. Going to something will change the expectations, but the thing that happens before makes an impact. Going for a workout, not going for a workout. Good morning. Today is August 20th, 2024, day 25, and weather report. The weather report is absolutely lovely this morning. Not a cloud in the sky, and looking east towards the Hollywood Hills and the San Gabriel Mountains. There's a beautiful yellow glow. So the day is coming, and today I did a thing where I got out faster than usual, just so I could be closer to the sleep state. And the element of pattern is still coming up as the noticing. I just walked past this. There's this commercial utility truck that parks here, and they must be there for probably an hour or two before, because the guys in the truck cabin are always asleep, and there's always two of them asleep at the wheel. We've talked about it before, but today I noticed that there was an outline of a street sweeper that went directly around the truck, which meant there was a marking from them being there since before the street sweeper came, whenever that was. So again, it's the history of something will reveal itself to you if you notice it, and then you need to notice that you notice it, and it can inform you even if you don't know what it means. Passing a Mercedes-Benz convertible with the top down right now, maybe 10 years old. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm so used to seeing convertibles, especially with their tops down. I can think of a world where convertibles are more rare, and even more rare with their top down in the morning, which means all night. Today I feel my sense of hearing is activated a little more as I walk backwards. Today I just saw this guy who drives this black car, who sits at the end of the cul-de-sac I walk on. He just drove past me. He does some kind of night work, and at the end of his shift he smokes a blunt, and as I get to where his car usually is parked, I can still smell it. Remember, we also talked about intersections. Of course, there's this truck that crosses my path, and there's always three. It was myself, this specialized truck that picks up trash bins. It's not a trash truck, it's the one that takes the trash bin from the residential area to the truck. And then there's a guy walking, and all three of us converged. More patterns. And then the one pattern interrupter today was that as I was passing this one area, this gentleman that I see from time to time rounded the corner of one of the side streets and started walking towards me. And he's walking forwards, right? I'm walking backwards. So I am watching him walk towards me. As he walks towards me, I'm walking backwards. We're both walking in the same direction. I'm just watching him. And he goes all of 2 or 3 steps in my direction, stops, looks around, turns around, and starts walking the opposite way on the street away from me. So that's a great example of something that's happening real time, and those are all physical actions that are taking place, and it sets in motion very high potential for me to interpret it in a certain way. Essentially, someone walking in my direction sees me and decides to go the opposite direction. And what I just shared with you is was my point of view, literally from my point of view, from how I was navigating the world. That's what I saw. So if I was in a drone or a helicopter and I was watching that play out from 5,000 feet, I would see the same physical action, but because I hold a different perspective, literally a different point of view, I wouldn't necessarily gather the same conclusion. Now, there's videos about this out there, which do it from a humorous or a shocking perspective. If you just isolate one little chunk of information, it can look quite different than if you are watching the whole narrative. If you just see that one moment, you can see why the police or the wife or whoever it is who's catching this other person would see it from a certain perspective. The children, the man, the husband. So look for those. Those are really interesting. They're kind of humorous. They're done in that fashion. I pulled up the thought of, he sees me and he's moving away. He's consciously moving away from me, avoiding interacting with me. And I just had another experience. I think it was yesterday. It was the day before. But we'll do that. Hopefully tomorrow. Not because I don't remember, but because I want to see what comes up for us.